This is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. Here we are. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds and souls, the hearts and lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I am your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I'm a podcaster. I'm a back herderman. Sure, why not? Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler, and I am sitting here live in the studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before we go any further, this is a fan-supported and listener-supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to you free of charge every single Thursday. ColtCabana.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you can support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell somebody via Twitter, via Instagram, via Vine, via Periscope, however you do it. Most importantly, though, if you got a couple of bucks in your pocket, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. I got t-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs, digital downloads, premium podcasts. I got to add some new stuff there, too. But like if you haven't been there, head on over, support ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. 250 episodes in, the Disco Inferno finally comes on the show. Disco and I became friends years ago when we both did a pilot for a paranormal show that never saw the airwaves of anything. It's on the internet if you could find it. It's called Ghost Trek. It was one of those experiences where it's like, yep, this is one of the weird experiences in my life. Me, Disco Inferno, Johnny Fairplay, some girl that was in maybe The Walking Dead, some other dude from Big Brother or one of those shows, maybe Survivor, I don't know. A fun hodgepodge of bizarre weirdness shot in North Carolina on set for a couple of days. And then Disco and I became friends. Funny story, I remember back in, I would say 2003, I never hated Disco Inferno, but I at the time, 2003, he was fresh off WCW, so his star was kind of big, and he was coming back to the independents. I was, my star was trying to rise on the independent scene, and he was always very short with me. But, I mean, I never took it too much to heart because I get it, and I probably do that to a million people now, and that's why I ask, hey, if you ever seen me in the corner just texting, hopefully you don't think I'm a piece of shit, but I've made that judgment too before. I'd like to sit here and say that I don't judge people like that, but let's be honest, we all fucking judge people like that. So hopefully you hold these judgments for a little longer experience when talking to somebody. But specifically, I remember it was a great day in Colt Cabana's independent wrestling history, like a great day in history for me because it was the Iceplex. IWC, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Norm Connors was the promoter, and that was the day where I sold more merchandise than Disco Inferno. I was sitting right next to him. He was hawking his pictures. I had Best of Colt Cabana 1, 2, and 3 on VHS at the time. This was 2002, 2003, and I outsold Disco Inferno that day. Maybe that was like one of the first sparks of like, hey, independent wrestling is a thing. We as independent wrestlers are kind of stars. Or maybe it was a sad day for Disco Inferno where maybe that star was slowly going downwards. But we reconnect over 10 years later here. I mean, we've seen each other every now and then. Oh, I wrestled him for PWS in what was a very fun show, actually, in New Jersey. Because he is in phenomenal shape. He looks great. He looks the part. He can still do it. He can still go. Not that he's like an old dude. He's just, whatever. Disco Inferno on the show. A lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy this. He's an easy talker, a big talker, likes to talk, easy conversation for me. Not much going on right now. I did say I was a back herdyman, and not to get into some crazy long talk. I, of course, don't want to bring up like doctors and concussions due to stuff in the legal system right now, which I am not allowed to talk to, advised by my lawyer. But it was the last match of the tour in Japan, and I got rocked with a kick. Just rocked hard. And again, us as wrestlers, we're macho man, we're machismo men. Like I woke up after it and I was around and I had a headache and I thought and still think I am fine. So I just go about my business and I've came home from Japan now. It's been over a week and I've been thinking that it's just the jet lagness of it all. But, man, I've had headaches and my back hurts and my body hurts. And I'm hoping it's still trying to kick this jet lag and it's the time change of it all. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I do have doctors. I have health insurance. But, fuck. It's like I'm on the road so much. I just appreciate sitting here and not doing anything. I don't want to have to go. That's the worst answer. I know. I'm a bad human being. But you can sit there and say, Colt, just go. But, put my shoes on, sitting on the couch. So it's just, after a lot of work and wrestling, it's just so gratifying. Hopefully it goes away. If I'm here next week for the podcast, you'll know that I'm still at it. Luckily, last week I only had one show, and that was on purpose to keep the schedule light after the tour of Japan. Resistance Pro, back at it with them. They are the group that Billy Corgan was in charge of, and they were the group, the very first show, under Billy Corgan's tutelage, said that both El Generico and I, known for our music, should not have our music and just have a guitar riff. And then I think because I spoke up on Chet Kopic's radio show in Chicago that I thought that was weird. I was fired thereafter, but he's no longer with them, and now I'm welcomed back, which is nice. And I had a good time, and it was a fun show. And good luck to whoever else has to have guitar riffs for their music. Imagine it's just like, what is it like? Tell me about your damn luck. But instead it's just like, meow, 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 meow. Or, do, 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 do. That would have been a good guitar riff. Maybe if I came out to that. But no, it's just like heavy metal. Like, I don't know if El Generico is solo guitar heavy metal. But fuck, what do I know? He was probably like, take that mask off of him. He'll be successful. We're all like, no, you're an idiot. He'll never be successful without that mask. And we'll never know because he's in Mexico. But we do know that hopefully I will be back with Resistance Pro, and I will be back to sanity and a normal schedule, and no back hurtiness, no head hurtiness, and my words won't stumble and have Cabana-isms. You know that's where they're from. Like, I used to be a college-educated normal person, but now I speak weird, and people joke about my speech pattern and choice of words that I use. I'll let those kicks to the head be the excuse. Song of the Week this week is brought to you by Bomba Socks. Last week I told you I asked my mom for birthday socks, and I told her to go to bombas.com/Colt so she can get 20% off with my order. And I'm here to tell you that she delivered on my birthday. Got some jeans, got some shorts, and I got some Bomba socks, short, black, and aqua. Wore them to the gym. I'm wearing them while I'm podcasting because they are legit athletic leisure socks, re-engineered to look, feel, and perform better, and they're doing great things. Each pair bought, Bombas donates a pair to those in need. That means you buy a pair, you're doing something good. Over 300,000 pairs have been donated so far. There's also a 100% happiness guaranteed. For some reason, if you don't absolutely love these guys, they'll refund your entire purchase. Here's some quick bullet points of why they're awesome. Seamless toes, reinforced footbed, stay-up technology, blister tabs, Y-stitched heel, honeycomb support. These are the socks that I'm wearing these days, folks, and you should be too. Go to bombas.com/Colt. Get 20% off your first order. That's bombas.com/Colt. Wear yourself some socks. Song of the Week this week was sent to me by an awesome singer-songwriter out of Minnesota named Mark Starry. Go support him at markstarymusic.net and Twitter at Mark Starry, STARY1. The song is called Hegstrand's a Killer, which is weird because he's dead right now. But, I mean, I get the idea. The Road Warriors were animals. Hey, the Road Warriors were animals. Also, there was a Road Warrior animal. This is a real good song. You'll love it. And then come back and listen to Disco Inferno.
It was 1984 All-Star Wrestling in a match booked by Gagne and Ella Ring. The Crusher and the Baron were waiting in the ring. Iron Man hit and the crowd popped like mad. For two warriors in face paint and shoulder pads. Civic Center ain't seen nothing so mean and bad. Hegstrand's a killer, Hegstrand's a killer. Laurinaitis is the man, Laurinaitis is the man. Hegstrand's a killer, Hegstrand's a killer. Laurinaitis is the man, Laurinaitis is the man. The Road Warriors, oh what a rush! Learn the ropes, bouncing that grandma beats. Pumping Iron and Eddie Sharkey. Now they're going for the belts on KMSP TV.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following:
Harry's razor blades. Shaving can be uncomfortable, cause razor burn, nicks, and cuts. On top of that, it can be crazy expensive. Harry's wants to change all of that with you. How? Harry's is about half the price of big brand blades, and they ship to your door free. That's free shipping. Why pay $32 for an 8-pack? Harry's is half the price with a blade that respects your skin. Test it out. The starter kit is $15, and you get a razor, moisturizing shave cream, and 3 razor blades. Use my code WRESTLING, get $5 off. That's $10 for all of that, plus free shipping. I can look over from where I'm podcasting right now into my bathroom and see that Harry's is all over the bathroom. It's what I use. I'm a Harry's man now. I keep my beard nice and trim with their products. Go to harrys.com now and get that $5 off your first purchase when you type in my code WRESTLING. That's HARRYS.com. Enter the code WRESTLING. Get all that shaving awesomeness for $10 and start shaving better today.
What are the bananas?
What are they?
Yeah, is that a gimmick?
To eat.
Oh shit!
Did you think I? Did you think like I have like a wacky zany morning crew bananas?
Right.
Like every guest takes 2 bananas,
right.
and you have to draw your picture on there.
Right.
That's actually art. Those are like day old bananas. Yeah. Have you gone into morning crews for like?
Yeah, like radio spots
over the years, right?
Yeah, they got the they'll go in the green room and they got like the stale Danishes, know. It's like you can tell how good the radio station is by the food,
Is that a rule?
Well, so it's like the donuts are never like Krispy Kreme. Mm-hmm. They're just like the generic, like gas station donuts and stuff. So
that's what you base it off of.
Yeah, right.
God, I guess as wrestlers, you guys go into those early things. I guess obviously I'm just talking about WCW days.
Right.
And do you eat the donuts?
Sometimes, I just, I mean, I never really did the only time we ever did the hotel room breakfasts or stuff was when we stayed in Orlando for TNA and for, WCW and stuff. Like they always, the Holiday Inn we stay at always had a decent spread.
Morning breakfast.
Yeah. It was
because isn't that a thing? Don't you think like as a wrestler, it's like when you're struggling, you're eating that hotel breakfast.
Right, exactly. You're saving the $13 to $14 breakfast.
Right, but when you're good,
then it's like
who's eating that breakfast when they're good?
Well, the breakfast anyway was pretty much the same everywhere we went. It was 6 scrambled egg whites, grilled chicken breast, steamed hash browns, dry wheat toast.
For you?
For like me is our crew.
Crew.
Me, Bagwell, Scotty Riggs, Alex Wright. And Alex was a pain in the ass because when he would order, he would demand the spray butter. Now, the spam, okay, or
the
spray,
spam,
the spray, whatever, like
Pam.
The Pam, yeah, that's Pam. Okay, so the Pam, so he was always like, demanding the Pam. I'm like, Alex, this is so everybody has Pam at home, but like a lot of restaurants don't have it. They use the butter and the oil. Like, he would bitch if they didn't have the Pam.
So the move right away, I would tell you, is to bring your own Pam, right?
Or well, pretty much, yeah. That's smart. Actually, that would have been a good idea.
Why didn't he bring that on the road?
He wasn't that bright.
Yeah, well, you didn't think of it until I didn't think of it,
but I didn't care about it. I didn't care about it. I'd have the egg whites cooked in butter because I would like I didn't care. I'd have a little bit of fat, but still, like it sucks because I've lived in Vegas for like 6 years now.
Yeah,
you can't get that.
Get what?
You can't get grilled chicken breasts, 6 scrambled egg whites, steamed hash browns, dry wheat toast because there's no Waffle Houses.
Oh, that's a Waffle House specialty.
That's a Waffle House. Like our breakfast was Waffle House. Sometimes it'd be IHOP. You can probably get it. You can get it at IHOP, but the IHOP's $2.40. But like if Vegas has the late night, the gaming bars that sell breakfast, but you have to, breakfast costs you $40 because like you put 20 in the machine and like you lose, right. Then you got to pay for the breakfast too. So
you don't live in the Strip though, do you?
No.
There has to be a normal place, a normal side of Vegas.
Let me tell you what Vegas does not have. There's 3 things that it's missing. It doesn't have any it's surprising because it's kind of a budget town too. There's no like Golden Corral buffets. Okay, all the buffets are in the casinos,
right.
And there's like one Asian buffet, but you can't go and get just a basic buffet like a Golden Corral unless you go to a casino, right? And some of the cheaper casinos have the cheaper buffets. They don't have Waffle House, and they don't have Cracker Barrel. And Cracker Barrel is like, like the staple everywhere. You got to go to Arizona an hour and a half to get Cracker Barrel, but I can't believe like Waffle House would kill it.
When have you turned into like the biggest Southern hillbilly of all time?
I was born in
What's going on?
I raised in Atlanta. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Atlanta. I mean, so Waffle House was always like a, late night staple. I mean, like this is before
I mean,
like
I've recently like changed my diet around. You've like always kind of been a body guy,
right?
And recently, like really even better than almost probably.
Right.
Would you say better than WCW? Almost?
I'd say better. Like healthy eating wise.
Yeah.
I've always been conscious of it, but like as I've worked less, I never let myself go. But I've never looked like as good as I
thought you were I mean, when we wrestled maybe 2 years ago.
But yeah, look decent,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't look
so
like.
What do you're all about this shit food?
Well, like my days off, I'll have like
That's important to you.
Yeah, like on your days off, like you have a few drinks, all you can eat,
Okay.
Sushi. And in Vegas is like a hamburger capital of the world. There's like unbelievable like gourmet hamburgers like all around Vegas.
Yeah.
You can go like you're not going to go eat fast food.
Okay.
You're going to like a burger. You're going to go to like Burger Bar.
Right.
Stuff. So, but
okay. So listen, this isn't a controversial podcast,
right?
Okay, but I wouldn't even want to bring this up, but you can dodge it whatever you want.
Right.
But like, weren't you in that thing, and now you're living in Vegas? Like, weren't you involved in some weird?
The poker bus.
Yeah,
we got busted, bro. It was unbelievable because
you talk about that?
Oh yeah, I got no problem talking about it. Okay, because they basically we had a poker game at our house. It started out Monday Night Football. And like we'd all come over and play poker, watch a Monday Night Football game.
And who's this? The boys or friends from around?
Friends,
not wrestlers.
No, Raven would play.
Okay,
but he wasn't there that night. But Raven would come. It was just
because he called it in. That's
right.
why.
Yeah, right. This is like around 2000. I'd say 2004. Remember when poker got popular on TV? It became
Isn't it crazy how it's really not that popular? Like it's really
well, everybody went broke and stuff. It's just I mean that's the house made all the money. So right, yeah. So So we the game grew, and it would be like we'd run the game. I'd have the hot girls serving drinks. I'd have like a hot girl like to do neck massages, and we'd cater like decent, like good food.
Really?
So it was like it was a party. We had a bar and stuff. There was an apartment in the basement of the house I lived at with a friend of mine, and the big house. So it was just like it was a party. So some of not many people would get drunk or everything, but there'd be a few guys drinking and everything. Now it was like a $500 buying game because like the guys that came and played weren't broke, but they weren't super rich and stuff. So we had this thing where basically a friend of ours, we were all going to buy into the World Series of Poker, and he printed out like a promo card, like the things like for here, like WrestleCon on a little plastic card and stuff. It said like $100 buy-in, and it had an access code to go on the internet. We're going to play online to like get the thing, okay? And so it said grand prize $10,000, okay? So because 100 people do go online, we $10,000 go to the World Series of Poker, and then we were going to like all. The people that play the tournament were going to like get a piece of the guy if the guy that won, right? So the cops, I guess somebody came and played in our game one time that had a guy brought a guy that maybe he was like a shady guy or something, whatever, like tipped it off. Bro, the cops went through our garbage and saw these cards, bro, they thought that meant, okay, this is how bad the police work on it was. They thought that there was a $10,000 buy-in game we were having,
right.
that you need like an access code to come to my house. Okay, so basically they thought they were coming in on a lot of money. Now, when you bust a gambling, when there's gambling, and they call it commercial gambling, you can seize the money. It's basically just like legal robbery. That's a legal game operation. We take the money. They thought they were coming in on hundreds of thousands of dollars,
not millions.
Whatever they thought for $10,000 buying game, right, whatever. So, bro, the DEA, the police, and the the IRS. busted in. Okay, they found like I think it was $28,000 among 21 guys because we would like we would never bring the money to the game in case we got robbed. You never know, like so and everybody's around the neighborhood. I knew I would just go pick it up, the winners and losers, pay and stuff, and they thought that they were coming in. I heard the IRS people talking to the cops outside the door. They're like, "Where's the money?" You guys said like they go, "Well, we thought that like that they thought they were coming in like $100,000 seizure."
Did that scare you?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, but here was the best part is that I had they went to everybody's cars, right? And they took money out of people's cars and stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Like
we need to get this million. We need to get this million.
Right. I was
start taking change out of the people's.
I was supposed to travel to Japan the next day to go wrestle for Henry Hubbard tour for the army bases over there. So I go to jail, right? Well, in my bag I had all my travel stuff ready, and in my bag I had 2 Adderall pills that a friend had given me to stay awake for, like, I was gonna
time it out.
Yeah, because I was staying up all night. The game ended at 6 o'clock. Right. I was gonna take the pill, go on the plane, and then I'd fall asleep like 2 o'clock. Just it was gonna time it out. Okay, so they got me for drug possession. Okay, of the class 1 the Adderall back then. I'm like. So I'm like, oh great, So they were gonna try and throw the book at me because like everybody else got probation. Like the people that the dealers and some of the guys in my game got like a commercial gambling. Everybody else got like a misdemeanor, paid $280 and got off. Right. I got was getting charged with the Adderall thing. Okay. Yeah. So when we went to the judge was like, I can't believe, bro, we go to the judge. There was like, we had felonies. So they had like, murderers in there and stuff, and the poker players come up, and the judge is like, I just want to get. She couldn't believe it. Like there was like poker players in there with like
And this had been pushed through,
right? Yeah, So like, let's just get it over with. So basically, they were trying to throw the book at me for the Adderall, okay, because they were just letting everybody off. They gave the other guys probation, so they had to go see a probation officer every month. My lawyer, by the way, got me for free because a friend of mine, and I hooked him up with like 3 other people for $1,000 a piece to where he could represent them.
Okay.
So basically, so now I got to go. He says like, well, he's self-medicated. Basically, I had to go find a prescription for Adderall now. Okay. They're going to bring me back in 2 weeks. Okay. Well, show us the prescription. So I'm like, oh, geez. So I got to go get a prescription for Adderall. Okay, I didn't, we were trying to swerve them, and but they didn't buy it. So now I got to go find a prescription for Adderall. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just Googled Adderall, whatever. Yeah. The Adderall doctor, like when the first one online, they have like a test for if you have ADD and need to you need Adderall. I passed like the test, like 10 things. I had 8 of them. They said all I needed was 3.
Yeah,
all right. So let me go see this guy. So I go to the guy and he said
that you're like an ADD guy.
I got ADD. Okay, it was obvious all these years. I mean, I didn't really need to be told. So I go to the doctor. I get the he gives me a prescription for Adderall. I go back to court, and they say basically they go, well, this is for after the the prescription is after the time. They go, and the judge is going, well, what can we do to make this go to just resolve this? And the guy's like, 3 years suspended probation, which means it's not on your record. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So basically, I just got 3 years suspended probation, which is not on your record. If I would have gotten in trouble, would have been on my record. Mm-hmm. And then like it acted, but it just looks like total exoneration. It cost me $0. Everybody else paid and stuff. I was like the guy, and I just basically got up for like
$0 and an admission to having ADD.
Pretty much, right? Yeah. So
come to the realization that you're a bit of a spaz.
Yeah. So that was it, and then it was just kind of like the games, the poker games.
And so then you moved to Vegas, and then you're living in that life. I don't know if you're living in that life, but that's what we think of society is that life of fast-moving gambling, all that stuff.
Right.
And like, I don't know if I went through all that bullshit, I'd be scared shitless to even start dabbling in that world.
Well, I'd always just like a guy that bet on the games and stuff, and everything. So you go to Vegas, says everything's legal, and I don't but plus, bro, when you live in Vegas and you work, like the club I work at, it's work and rest. And plus, when I work down on the Strip, you don't really end up going to the Strip a lot if you live there. I live in the suburbs. I basically lead a suburban life. The work's 15 minutes away. I work, I come home, my days off. I go to the gym. I don't, maybe once a month I'll go down and play poker a couple days at the Wynn and stuff and thing. But I'm not.
So you're not diving in.
No,
that
bro, I'm not going to the casino every day and stuff and all that. You kind of like stay away from it because it's weird. Vegas tries to they try to get the people's money that don't live there.
Yeah.
They don't try and take your money.
They know. It's almost like a con. I guess it's kind of like we know these guys know the con.
Right. Well, it's I don't know. It's just like you just don't when you work. It's weird. People come to Vegas to visit and gamble. If when you're working, it's like you're working with the gamblers.
Let's bring this into wrestling a little bit. Did you because you always like. Was this going around in the wrestling locker rooms? I like when I was in college, I would do, I guess, a lot of sports gambling.
Mm-hmm.
But is this something that was familiar to a lot of people? Were you guys going to casinos on the road? I guess, and I'm talking WCW days, right?
Yeah, you know what, bro? Hardly any of the crew were gamblers. It was like a small collection. You know, like Mike Tenay used to run the Gold Coast Sportsbook. So he used to be a sportsbook manager. So me and him would discuss, you know, watch the games. A few of the other guys would bet on the games, but like just most of the boys are not, I guess, because you know, like a lot of guys come, you know, back in the day before they started like, you know, paying guys to train, most guys worked indies.
Yeah.
You know, like they broke in back then. Since, you know, 96, 97, 98 when I was in WCW. So like a lot of guys were like used to, you know, saving their money.
Right.
You know, like you said, like the Waffle House, you know, cheap on the road. They were like, a lot of guys grew up working in Memphis. You didn't make any money, you know, work on the road. So most of the guys were pretty frugal with their money. You know, even the guys that like made a lot of money. You know, like this, like, you know, like the Steiner brothers were very frugal.
Right.
You know, but they
learned.
yeah, they just learned, you know, just save their money and stuff. So so there wasn't like a lot of us were reckless.
Would you say you're frugal?
No, I wasn't. I was an exception because you know, a lot of these guys too, married, kids, girlfriends, stuff and everything. But I was a single guy. You know, single guy going from indies, you know, not making much. Now all of a sudden I'm making a lot of money, and I always felt like, you know, we didn't think WCW would go out of business. Yeah. You know, in retrospect, I probably would have been a lot more conservative with my spending. But bro, when I'm 28, you know, 28 to 33 years old, and you're out and you're having a blast.
So
you know,
1997, 1998, you thought you knew your job was secure. You thought you were going to ride this out for 20 years.
Well, you just kind of got the feeling, you know, because like the houses, you know, the arenas were packed.
But wrestlers are always job scared, yeah.
The ones job scared ones are guys that weren't on TV a lot, weren't making a lot of money. You know, they're scared of their job. You know, I wasn't really scared of my job because my contract had been progressing. You know, and I was good. You know, when we went out of business, I was on the last year of my, you know, my third year of my 3-year deal. I would have my next deal would have been even better than you know the one before. So I was like, you know, so I was thinking, you know, I had college to fall back on. You know, but even though I really didn't remember anything I did in college because it's been so long, right? So I was like, this is years later. So, but I'm just always had that in mind. Like, well, I've got that to fall back on. You know, I'm going to start thinking about buying a nice house now with my next deal. You know, so then you know went out of business.
But the year before, I mean, you were like, oh, I'm good in WCW. I'm good for another 10 years.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
have a 10-year run.
Oh yeah, for sure. I thought I was a. I would be life, like a life for you know, like a lot of the WWE guys are. I thought that would be like my my deal. So.
Yeah. So not a little bit of blown because I don't a little bit of blown, but man, I think everyone has to think you were a straight to WCW guy, like power plant, born and raised.
No.
Yeah, I don't even know.
No. I trained indies.
Yeah, I don't even think we've never talked about this. I don't think, and I don't remember ever hearing about you doing indies. I guess.
Because I didn't really I wasn't doing I didn't do a lot of indies. I didn't I was a $40 worker around the Georgia, Alabama circuit and stuff, everything, you know. So
you came to Georgia, Alabama circuit before. You're obviously a New Yorker.
I trained for Bill Eadie had a school that this guy Steve Lawler was a trainer. Okay, I went and trained with them for 5 weeks, twice a week. And after like
down
5
south?
weeks, down south.
How'd you get there from the East Coast?
Oh, I moved from Brooklyn when I was 3 years old. I grew up in Atlanta.
Okay.
I grew up in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, I never let the South get my accent though. So that's right.
You're not taking this,
right? Yeah, no way, right? So, so I grew up in Atlanta.
Can I ask what moved you down to Atlanta?
My dad's job.
What was that?
He was a transportation manager for a clay corp, or like he transported kaolin, which is the white you see on paper. He shipped it. Like so, they had Sandersville and Savannah, Georgia. He lived in Atlanta and did all the shipping for.
Was he? I mean, because looking at you and talking, I mean, you're like a real New Yorker, right? And the gimmick was maybe it's only because I remember the gimmick. Maybe that like sinks it in. Was your dad like that kind of dude?
Yeah, he's told me, my mom, my dad, 3 Scorpios from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah,
so that's your typical Italian yell at each other all the time family.
Right.
You know,
and then moved down to Georgia. Were you guys like?
Didn't change. You know, they still like friends would come over. My parents would be yelling at each other. They'd be cracking up,
they
laughing.
All stick out?
I don't know, not really.
No.
You know, no, I wouldn't say we live in the suburbs. You know, so.
Well, I'm trying to think. What was that movie with Steve Martin and Rick Moranis where he's in the witness for My Blue Heaven?
Oh, My Blue Heaven, right?
You know what I'm
So
saying?
where he sticks the stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
my dad we didn't have that many neighbors. You know, there's like a street with like one house over here, one house. We only had like one neighbor we talked to. Then we'd have friends of the family. So
Okay, so I grew up in Georgia.
grew up in Georgia. Trained at the Alpharetta auction barn, and basically
Isn't it crazy that Bill Eadie's like still around?
Yeah.
Did you?
looks the same. I used to just go to shows. I would drive Billy Dee to shows.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I
did you
broke
think he
his-
was old as fuck back then too, or like?
He like looks the same way for like the past 15 years.
Okay, I'm not
you know?
old as fuck
Yeah.
because like
older.
he's like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're young in the business, you're like that's an old guy.
Right.
He probably has 2 more years left in wrestling.
Right, exactly. But he hadn't really. She's been through the exact same deal forever. you
Yeah.
know? So,
He was on. I mean, he was on one of the very first shows. I mean, I was ever on. I was like, man, I can't believe he's still doing it. And now
Right.
here I am, 17 years later. He's still
doing it.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. So, but
Trained in the barn.
yeah. So I had basically trained, did indies. You know, I was like the Brooklyn Stud, the typical, for your first gimmick type deals, right?
Okay, but let's break that down a little
Okay.
bit. Who's giving you? So you train 5 days or for 5 weeks, 2 days a week,
And
someone's like, "You're ready. You're the Brooklyn Stud."
Well, no. What was my first game? We did it. Put a mask on me. They had a little local cable access TV show. I was the Magnificent One. Okay, and I had Emil Moskowitz, mask with an M on it. And I was, so I'm just wrestling. just learning how to work.
Of course.
3 shows a month? So then I befriended Raven. We started hanging out, and I've been doing like the Brooklyn Stud. Like,
So you've known him that long, then? Huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So when he was Scotty but he moved to Atlanta when he was Scotty the Body before he was Scott Anthony in Global Wrestling. So he was Scotty the Body when he came to Atlanta, and I just kind of just started breaking in. So he was a club guy. I was a club guy. We just ended up. I think he worked out.
Ended up doing ecstasy together.
Yeah, just right. Yeah. Oh, so he's
With glow sticks.
yeah, right. Not the glow sticks.
Okay.
But so he came up with just one day as I'm progressing in my career, come with the gimmick Disco Inferno. He came up with it. He showed me a tape of a guy that did similar gimmick, wasn't doing it well. That had done it, didn't do it anymore. And said, "Why don't you do this?" I'm like, "All right."
Hold on. Okay, so we talk about the genius. Some people talk about there's the genius of Raven and whatever, but it's
Right.
just like I've got this great idea. And he think it's like brewing up in his head. It's like, no, it's just, hey, I watched the tape of some other guy.
He wrestled with Dr. Johnny Holiday in Calgary. Okay, the guy that was the guy's name, Johnny Holiday.
Okay.
And he had a white coat on, and would come out and like tried to go woo, like it wouldn't even like try to rip off John Travolta, but that he's like that. You should do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I forget who came up with the name. I think I came up with the name, but I think Raven will tell you that he came up with the name,
course.
like, just because that's the way he is. Yeah. But he basically inspired the gimmick. We came up with it together. I went and bought, I wouldn't make any money back then. I went and bought some cheap clothes at the thrift store, put it together. And I didn't even have a chance to do it, I don't think. He got me a job later on in Memphis when he was wrestling in Memphis. And I went and did it there for like a month. I was green.
Yeah.
And so.
But I kind of want to break down, like, before we get into this, like,
Yeah.
where are you as a person? You said you went to college.
Yeah.
Are you just a regular dude? Are you?
When I went to college, I finished in Georgia with 2 degrees. Bad grade point average. I mean, it was like a 2.5 and a 2.6 in my 2 majors. So,
But nobody knows that. You got a degree.
Yeah. So basically,
We're very similar to
yeah. So after that, I had a friend of the family that was booking the travel for the old NWA, working with Ole Anderson. Okay, so he knew Ole.
I'm sorry.
Literally the week I finished, they're like, "Do you want to try to wrestle?" And I tried out at the wrestling school. I never looked back. I was just so live. I went like 6.5 years of college, complete waste of my time.
6.5 years.
6.5 years because I started off failing out of Georgia Tech twice. Okay, so then I went to DeKalb Community College. Went to community college for a while, then went to Georgia for 3.5 years.
Why are you failing twice?
I was just a terrible student. Bro, let me tell you something.
I think we're this, like, I powered through it, but I could have easily just, like, it wasn't like a party or anything, but like, school sucks, man.
I hate it. I played pickup basketball every day. I
Right.
just get involved in the extracurricular activities inside the class. And bro, this is before when I grew up, I never took ibuprofens. Bro, I never drank coffee. If I would have been a coffee drinker, okay, from the time I was like in high school and stuff, and like started drinking coffee, forget it. I would have I might have been a more successful student, and been a different life, because I didn't even discover coffee till I started working in WCW. I'm like, God, I'm tired. Well, drink this. I'm like, oh, wow, this wakes you up. What a
Yeah.
novel idea, you know? Stuff
Yeah,
like that. So I did like coffee changed my life, you know? But then, like I said, I tried out to wrestle and I never looked back. I started with that group, paid them to train. As soon as I paid, I mean, and plus I was a fan of wrestling growing up. So me and my friends used to fake wrestle each other and stuff. I was good with kicks and punches. And luckily, when I hit the ropes good the first time I tried it, I was like, just by luck, So
I think. I don't want to say because some of the athletes hit it, but like there's a bit of athleticism to hitting those ropes.
Yeah.
I mean, but like you've seen like NFL guys go in there and not how it.
Right. Well, we say that their head and their feet aren't together.
Okay.
They don't really,
Right.
They're thinking too much. You're not natural. It's
Were you
like-
an athlete as a kid?
I was athletic.
Okay.
Okay. Like I played all the sports, but I never played, football really at the high school level. I played up until 10th grade. I was a really good soccer player up until I peaked when I was 13 years old. Because I started going to private school in high school after that, and it's different growing up. When you're in your neighborhood and playing sports, pick up, and you go to practice once a week, and you play the games on the weekends, and just around your neighborhood, it's different than. I started going to private school in 9th grade. I have a 40-minute drive back and forth to school. I'm with new kids. It's like you're not. You have to practice every day.
Yeah.
You just lose. I became less passionate about sports. But I could still play it. I play them extracurricular, like recreationally, like pick up, pick up stuff. So,
but you got to calculate in that. I guess I never thought about that because my high schools and schools were always like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Right.
And so mom, you finish
Yeah,
practice,
but-
you call mom,
Right,
collect,
come
and
pick
say,
you
hey,
up and
pick me up, and
everything.
then hang up really quick.
But there's more structure. You got carpools and everything.
And
all that.
carpools, of
Right.
course.
But
of course.
I played every. The one thing I didn't play was baseball because I was a soccer player. But I played basketball, football, played street hockey.
Okay.
So I'm actually a more successful street hockey goalie than anything. That's like, I like
Your claim to fame.
Yeah,
Love
like
it.
claim to fame. Like this deck hockey. It's not even roller. This is like just so
Yeah,
that's right. But
okay.
that's Georgia. So
Right.
that's what you get.
Yeah.
Right.
So so you it's just look forward. So you didn't have jobs.
Well, I worked in like worked like odds. Like I worked for a pool cleaner.
While you were training and going on.
Yeah. Where working jobs
You
were
were
maybe
in
like
Masked Maniac or the
like
Magnificent
$100 a day I'd make like 4 days. I wouldn't make it. You're broke. When you're a lot of the guys. When you're making your money on the road, but like so of course your parents are getting more disenfranchised with you because like
Living
they
with
said
your parents?
No, I wasn't living with my parents, but well, what was it at this time? I was, yeah. But I'm not. I'm spending nights at friends' houses and stuff because we're going out and stuff and all that. But I'm not making any money. They're getting discouraged. They're ready to disown me, And then fast forward a little bit. I start doing the Disco Inferno gimmick, and I'd met Paige, and Paige hooked me up with Terry Taylor, who was
Dallas
actually
Page.
who was actually working with WCW at the time. Actually, was he working at WCW? I think he was, and he was actually. I don't know. He liked my gimmick. I went to work these shows over in Mississippi where I had to drive Jake the Snake over. That's a whole other novel all in itself. Like having to drive Jake the Snake from Atlanta, Georgia to Jackson, Mississippi, and drive him back.
In his prime, that was like beyond the mat years prime stuff.
It's in the heart of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I'm 24 years old.
A kid.
Yeah. I'm like just in shock. Like still do this. So I'm like taking Jake on these wild rides.
Didn't even drink coffee.
No, didn't even drink coffee.
Right.
So I'm like.
And now he's doing whatever he's doing.
And he's keeping me up all night, And but he liked my gimmick too. But still driving with Jake, tremendous amount of knowledge you get, like in the car with the guy, So he would like, I was just learning how to work. I'd go over there and do the thing, and we were in Mississippi. There was actually decent crowds that I was working in front of for the first time, and the disco character was getting over, right? So I forget the window of time here, but I was doing the gimmick regularly, but not getting a lot of work. And Paige got me a tryout in WCW. Okay. And I basically got, but Terry was in the office there. He was one of the agents. Okay. And I went and did it. And some of the local guys that had seen me on the local TV, doing the character, started doing the Disco Sucks chant. So I was, for my first day there, my tryout match, I was over.
Fans.
The fans, yes. So this is the old Center Stage Theater back in WCW.
That's
So
such a powerful thing that people don't think about. And I'll relay a story to you. Is like when I had a dark match, like when in 2011, Punk said hi to me and whatever,
Right.
And they were gonna give me this dark match in like Milwaukee,
Right.
And I was like, yes.
Right. Oh yeah.
near Chicago,
Yeah.
Midwest fans.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they said, nah, we're not going to do this. We were doing next week. And then the following week I did it. It was in Lexington, Kentucky.
Right.
And like there was still a good reaction for me.
Right.
But I know what the reaction would have been
for sure
in
yeah.
Milwaukee. And
Yeah.
like it was such like...
Like God, it could have. You would have been one of the more over guys on the show,
Right.
Yeah,
I
so,
think.
right. Yeah,
I
so,
think.
right. Yeah, pretty much.
So fuck, you have your tryout in a place where all these guys know you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a reaction.
And they just started the disco suck shit. But I was like, it was an obnoxious gimmick back then. This is actually pretty, back when I started, nobody was, WCW was doing the corny, like the Zodiac, the dungeon, kind of the Dungeon of Doom and
Yeah.
stuff. So I came in kind of like doing like an over, like they were presenting their characters kind of like evil, cartoonish, but I was like kind of like over the top cartoonish.
Right.
Like I just patterned myself. Like my favorite gimmick growing up was the honky tonk man.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this is an easy gimmick. He does the
Suffer.
well, he does a couple dance moves in there. I said, I'll just do a couple dance moves, just and act like pretend like I think I know what I'm doing, but look like I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the gimmick, So, and it got me hired. So
Yeah. Did you have a science to the gimmick?
not really. I just watched a lot of Piper, watched a lot of Honky Tonk Man, and I never when I broke in, and like people were starting to do it. I never did like climb to the top rope and did did any of that. All my stuff was like punching and kicking, selling. I watched a lot of I liked how Piper like sold. They're very animated, so I just tried to like just pattern my stuff after like the way I sell, just over the top after him.
Yeah.
And just I watched like just old school kind of heat. As I grew into it, like saw moves I liked and stuff, but I never really I didn't really get innovative. I didn't have an innovative mind in like offense.
Yeah.
I had a more creative mind of like what type of spots can I do with my gimmick.
Well, because and it's pretty wild because I think like that was the time when people started realizing like, oh, I need to kind of get over with moves.
Right. Well, here's the thing, because when I first started in WCW, they started hiring Eddie, Rey Mysterio, Benoit, and you're watching them work, and like wow, these guys are like really, what are they doing in there?
Yeah.
It's like that's like the start of like it's opening people's eyes.
But also like guys who were hungry, and you disagree or agree with me, guys who were hungry, who were doing cool moves and innovative things started kind of get a push in terms of like Kidman and Lenny
Right.
Lane,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And like guys, there was some weird undercard guys that really were just like busting out weird shit.
Right.
And not crazy gimmicks.
Right.
Almost they were given gimmicks later.
Right.
And you were a real exception to the rule where
Yeah, right. Because I was just a gimmick guy,
Yeah.
but I could take all their stuff.
Yeah.
So that was like so it was a good dynamic. I had a good gimmick. The fans would boo, and these guys would bounce me around all over the place. And stuff. And like,
Can you think of any other examples of guys who came in like that with like real heavy gimmicks?
like
Who were
not real, bro. This is kind of because this is what we saw the beginning of like more towards
maybe like so Shark Boy in TNA would be an example of
Sharp Boy. Perfect.
right, but I guess but that's TNA, not WCW. Although
Right.
he did kind of almost get in with WCW.
right.
They changed him to Dean Roll though.
Yeah, right. So the I don't know, man. I was kind of maybe the last of
You
like
really-
I was like kind of like the mid '80s typical WWE gimmick that was. That was like in WCW. I don't think really many came behind me. Because then the emphasis they were hiring all the best workers.
Right.
And these guys were working in Japan, Mexico, and stuff. So the artistic impression of the work was more interesting to like that was like what got them into it as opposed to their gimmick. They were
Yeah.
just, like Eddie Guerrero was a great work. This is when it was like the actually what's the best way to think about this? Like the actual where we started like defining a worker, because like this is like 92, 94, 95, 96, we're starting to get beginning of the internet age, and we're educating the fan. Fans didn't know. I didn't know when I first started training, I didn't know what a worker was. I said, hey, that they wrestle. I would watch on TV. I didn't know that I knew they called the spots to each other, but I didn't know how they did it because I never like got the Observer, the Torch, from like the early '90s. So I didn't.
I got the torch, and I still didn't know. Like I still
right.
feel you really don't know unless you
Right,
really,
right.
really
Unless you get in there, unless you're trained. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so those guys kind of like started when TV starts, and now like each week, guys are getting like their matches rated on TV. Like, how good is your match? Because everybody, like, the only thing people read was like the Observer or the Torch. You didn't want to get a dud. You didn't want to get 1 star. You don't want to get the worst match on the show. So
that was a big thing going around the back.
Well, just you kind of knew it. Like me and Conan would joke all the time. It's like, hey, they just like as soon as my match, I'd walk back through the curtain and say, hey, I just looked on the internet right from my match. I had the best match right now. It's got the highest rating.
Yeah.
And he go, no. I mean, we would argue, joke about who had the best match and how many, So, but yeah, everybody read it and everybody wanted to everybody wanted to have a really good match. Everybody did. The guys are working with each other. Like you said, like the mid card guys,
the workhorse guys,
right? The workhorse guys. The main event guys were over. We knew they didn't have to do much, and they were still going to get a pop because these guys are just super over. A lot of them still know what to do out there. But like that mid card mentality was, we got to have a good match.
Was that locker room crazily divided by categories?
Guys, kind of weird. It was kind of divided, I mean, but it was together but divided. Everybody dressed in the same room except for like, Hogan, Macho, Pipe. They had their own rooms, So like, these guys were like the big superstar guys. We can't talk to them, Like they're there with Bischoff, the boss, So like, so who knows? And then that's the one thing that I think guys worry about. Is like you want to go out there and like the boss is in there watching with Hogan, watching you work. One guy can bury you to the. You don't know what they're saying.
An audience of two,
yes,
or an audience of
three.
One
or three. Yeah, exactly right.
When there's 4 million people watching Nitro,
right?
You're only thinking about that one room,
right? So then, Flair was always just Flair. He was a cool guy, just like But then like when Hall and Nash came in. Hall and Nash were like over guys, like the top guys. They weren't like the mid card guys, but we always felt that they were part of the locker room because they always dressed with us.
Cool.
They were like they were like the boys. But they were still Hall and Nash. They had a lot of stroke. And that's like I think a lot of the mid carders think that they were like burying them, and stuff and all that.
So
but
when they came in and they were like they changed the game basically.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, and correct me, when they changed the game, they were the hottest thing in wrestling. They were still just in the boys' locker room.
Still in the boys' locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sends a statement, huh?
Yeah. So but they would go like bro, people be drinking beer and wine during the show, but they wouldn't mind. They go into Hogan's office. They'd be drinking wine, watch the match before they go out and cut the promo. So it's really, I mean, the backstage back then was a tremendous dynamic. For I mean, I'm sure there's been millions of things written about it, but
a sense of comfortability.
Yeah, but what they started doing is there was kind of like they were coming in and they were challenging those top guys for their spots. The mid-card guys really weren't like challenging for the spot. We were just putting on good TV. Like,
knew you were part of the show almost.
Right, part of the show, but like an entertaining part of the show because like when you watch the mid-card guys, it's a good match. Everybody's it's acrobatic. It's just different looking. It's like there's a lot of innovations. Just like guys wrestling go, well, what are these guys going to do tonight? We've seen new stuff each week. So for a few years, that's the mindset. Watching the show. Well, Hall and Nash came in. They're like the new guys, but they kind of like wanted to challenge for the top spots. So that's when the politics became, between like the Hall and Nash camp and, like Hogan and all those guys. And Hall and Nash was always kind of like in the us category, like the us versus them, because
us meaning the mid card guys.
Like the mid card guys, because they were with us.
Yeah,
they would like hang out with us. They would like they would go out with us. They were like
see that years later with Nash and I always remember in TNA, like he always really championed like the young paparazzi.
Bro, Kevin's a young guy at heart.
Right.
He likes to go out, go have a few drinks and stuff and everything. He he's a social guy.
Yeah.
He's not like like the other guys were kind of like more sort of even like kind of antisocial.
Mm-hmm.
They like didn't really like to.
They get older and they become suits almost.
Almost kind of and so that was the dynamic. I mean, so yeah, it was that kind of developed
So were you an against a Hogan and type
No,
guy?
but Nash we became really good friends.
Was there a line on the battlefield of Team Nash and Holland versus Team whoever? I don't even know.
Yeah, because this was back when the NWO Black and White and Black and Red and the Black and White were feuding with each other.
Though.
Yeah, it was. Oh, absolutely,
really,
absolutely, bro. Let me tell you something. There was a night. I've told this before. I've never told you, but this is a great story. Is that basically we were in Denver, I think it was, or Colorado town, and the NWO Black and Red went out. The Wolfpack went out before the show. Talked about how unified they were. Right. Later, Luger has a match, and the Black and White come down and beat up Luger. And the Black and Red didn't even come down to save him. Okay, and so then I remember like we're Nash and everybody's like I think maybe it was like me and Conan, like it's about 8 or 9 of us in the locker room, and Eric walked in and like asked him, hey, what are you going to go say in your promo? He goes, I'm not doing it. It's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what am I supposed to say? He goes, you just buried. It's like I can't even what can I possibly say to justify that? That was locked in the closet. Yeah. That when he come out, he wanted to be and they just walked out like that. I remember that. I can't remember if they actually did cut the interview, but I'll just never forget that conversation. That was like, it's like what, like the look on his face was like, what the fuck are you guys? I'm sorry for like, I don't know.
Of course.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing? It's like you're trying to. Why are you burying us? We're like, that buried us.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, you could see just things like that would happen on the show. And then the one's supposed to go down like that. They change it last minute. That's what happens on TV. He's got to change his promo and that's how it works because Hogan had creative control. That's when the guy has creative control. That's how you can change things.
Is that the quote unquote the death of WCW? Right?
I think that the death of WCW was not seeing what was going on the other channel. Okay, and like seeing what was the drift of popularity was going more towards edgy television.
Did you see it?
Yeah, bro. Well, let me tell you something. We would have. This is when Flair we would be watching Raw. There'd be locker sellouts on the monitor in the locker room. Okay, while our show is going on, and there's like 6 or 7 of us sit up there with our eyes glued to Raw. And like Flair was looking at it, bro, this is over. He's like this. He goes, even the boys don't even like their show better than ours.
Like you liked it. And you were enjoying
because it was completely different than what we were doing. Yeah. At the time we were trying to like throw the veteran guys still out on TV and kind of like cold angles and trying to draw on their like a name value matchup alone. And I'll never forget is they were starting to beat us in the ratings and it was getting pretty. You could see it's changing. And we were trumping Hogan versus Savage, okay, again for like the umpteenth time, and then I remember the thing was like, well, let's see if they can relive their magic one more time. But they went head to head, okay, against the Mean Street Posse versus the Patton, the Briscoe and
Stooges.
the Stooges.
Yeah.
The Briscoe Stooges rating almost doubled. The Macho Hogan, and I was like, God, man, this is just that's you're throwing out like we're throwing out our worst. The guys can't even work. The Mean Street Posse. We're gonna put them head to head against your top 2 guys and we're gonna double your number. So that's when you knew it was just like it's like
Did you attempt to like? Was there a group of guys like trying to? I guess everyone was trying to save it, but just no one had the right answer. I mean, I don't know. Like you saw it was edgy. Did you try to like, man, we should be doing this, or at least Disco should be doing this?
Perfect examples when they changed, they changed booking so many times. Like when Russo and them came in. Well, I mean that's when we thought it would change. Is that basically, oh, cool, they're killing us in the ratings, and now we got their riders, and like, and it was like, and everyone, the mid card guys were very excited. The top guys were not, because Vince said right off the bat, what I want to do is we need to start elevating these mid card guys. Okay, so if you're a top guy, that's going to be at the expense of who?
Of course.
That's the beginning. Russo and Ferrara coming over actually just started probably the demise of WCW just because of the dynamic that it created. If you just think about that, you got a business
internal struggle.
You got a business where like you got like the board members, and you got 2 guys coming over and say, hey, we're going to start removing some of you guys and replacing you. what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know, like of course the board members are going to try to bury the. I mean, so that was just an environment that got created.
What
you know?
a war that must have been just between. I mean, I guess if you're in the mid, but just those upper guys trying to save their life. What a war that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Just a lot of psychology backstage, a lot of just politics, a lot of I mean,
Did you let it get to you, or did you like kind of laugh at it from afar?
At first, I didn't let it get to me because I was just like, because I was making money.
Yeah.
I was making really good. 'Cause my bump in contract from my last one to the one I was currently on was like really good. I was making good coin, So I was making $15,000 every 2 weeks, as opposed to when I started, I was making $1,000, So it's like, I mean, I'm living a great life, and I'm
Also
thinking
$100 for $100 as opposed to before that, it was $100 a day.
Right. Well, now I'm thinking like, oh, my next one, I'm making 20 a week, and stuff. So basically, I didn't let it bother me.
Okay.
So then when the first when Russo and Ferrara got sent home after a few months, even though the show was like starting to it became gloom and doom again, So because like now the top guys were in charge, and it's like a lot of the mid card, even though like the upper mid card guys were kind of like because the top guys, guys like Scott Steiner. He was like a Russo guy, but like the other top, he had been a Bischoff guy, when he was like one of the top guys with them and stuff. So now it's like you just saw that dynamic changing where some of the top guys are now, kind of getting disenfranchised with what's going on with the political structure. So, but the other top guys are happy now because you got the old school guys back in charge again and stuff. So then they started seeing the strife, amongst the top guys.
Yeah.
So that changed everything too.
What
So
a
this was
headache.
just a snowball effect.
When it went under, like, where was your mind at? Like, panic?
I was burnt out because for 9 months before that, I had been helping write with I was on the part of the creative team.
Okay.
And during this time, you knew it was bad because we'd be in the creative meetings, and we would call Brad Siegel, who was the boss at the time. He wouldn't return our phone calls. Mm-hmm. Think about that.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to put his show on TV that coming week. We have specific questions about what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't answer. He wouldn't call us back.
Like practices and whatever, you mean?
Like standards. Can we do? And we'd be like, I can't think about that.
Can Scott Steiner swear and call people N-words?
Well,
or
just
no?
or just whatever we were trying to do.
Yeah.
It was just. I mean, that's unfathomable if you think about it. The guy that's supposed to be in charge of your show doesn't have time to return a call to the people, the creative team, and you could just see money being pulled from production. Like we try to do things and say we can't afford it, and so then they had brought Johnny Ace in, and like they thought the magic formula because he was the best finish guy in the business. That the problem with our show was the finishes. We needed more clean finishes. So when Ace came in, and he kind of got integrated into the creative team, it just the whole process just got changed because like when we would be in creative meetings, we would like Vince would basically stand up there and like pitch ideas for angles. And if we liked them, we'd just continue. We'd throw our our 2 cents in, and just the meetings would move.
Right.
Like it would go from one story to the because like he had ideas for everybody on the show. If we didn't have an idea, we'd get stalled. I'd throw some crazy stuff out there. Ferrara throw some crazy stuff out there. When we'd finally get to something, we'd keep going. But then when Ace came in and started sitting on the creative meetings, we'd like talk about we'd talk about an angle and the match. Ace wanted to start going over the finishes. But we would just say like, if we had a specific finish of a match, like a complete screw job, we would talk about it. But bro, if there was like, hey, Colt versus Disco, okay, we'll send it to the show. Let me and you go over it, and Arn will come up with a finish. He's one of the best. The other guy's brilliant. He goes like, so it's like. So Ace came in and wanted to like slow down the meetings with the discussions of going over the finishes in this movie, like a Japanese finish,
Gotcha.
And I'm like,
which is a 20-minute call out,
bro. It's just like it's like I mean, so the meetings got awful, stuff. So Vince went home, okay, like things were really bad and everything, and I'd sat in a few more creative meetings and I just, he didn't like me because like I was Johnny Ace. He didn't like my input because I was the, I would make it known, bro. Why are we wasting our time going over these finishes? You know, I was like, he's a finisher, right? Yeah. I'm like, bro, it's like, you know,
It's like a guy, it's like you knew that your political way was to probably not do it, but it's like you get so frustrated.
Well,
it's like, fuck, let's move on.
Well, you gotta understand if you know me and have sat in, nobody's ever really sat in a meeting with me, but I'll argue if I think I'm right. You know, I won't I'll eventually let it go, but like if I feel pretty adamant about something, I'm gonna let you know about it. You know, like if something Vince would come up with an angle, I say, bro, what are you envisioning here? I'm like, are you looking at this and the vision that in the ring is gonna be terrible? You know, so
do people gasp at you, or are they like?
Well, something they're you have arguments.
Risky move to do.
Yeah, but it didn't bother me because I might get fired. So I want to get paid extra. I was just doing this. I would get the hotel and car paid for on the road because so that was like a perk. But I'll never forget, like, it was Mike Sanders versus Kiwi, and they have a match, and like 1 week and he goes to finish, Kiwi beats him. Second week, they have another match. And like it was, the finish was a little different on the finish, and Kiwi beats him again. And so like we'd be in the creative meetings, like Ace would come like, hey, we got Sanders versus Kiwi. He had an idea for that, and I'm like, Johnny, I go, what promoter would book this match? I go, the guys just beat the guy clean 2 weeks in a row. I go, who is going to want to watch this again? I'm like, so I would say that the next week I was gone. So I was like, yeah, that was it. I was like, so I was
lost
like,
it over Kiwi and Mike Sanders. Shout out to Mike Sanders.
Yeah, right.
Who, told me he listens to the show.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, fuck. Here you are still on it. I mean, we're kind of winding down here.
Yeah.
Disco Inferno was probably meant to be a WWE gimmick, but it never was.
Well, then, this is the thing. When we did the changeover, I got nothing against the guy, but like at the time, I didn't like Ace, and he just because of the way he treated me and stuff. But he was the point man for the changeover, and at the time, the WWE, like I'd heard their locker room wasn't very, like guys weren't having fun over there, And I was like, man, I just, 7 year run. I worked all the night, all through Nitro. Probably missed 5 shows in 7 years.
Right.
9 weeks, 9 months of helping the creative team. Just, I was just so burnt out that I just like they called me, hey, let's work a deal. I'm all right, and I didn't call back. And I was just.
And you weren't in a ruch to like.
Well, I had money in the bank, and I was just like, I want to go work overseas. I just want to work. I just. Like just burn out, like you have no passion at all for wrestling, for wrestling. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really. I mean, I'd watch Raw, but I just, So there was like 3 months there we were getting paid. Me and Nash would just go eat sushi, go work out, go watch a show. Just so we just hung out for like 3 months, and he gradually got back integrated into it, and I just never like. I was starting to go overseas and work for that Australian promoter that was paying us good money, and I thought that was going to be a gig for a while. So I just started doing that, and it was like,
and you bounce around TNA and whatever.
Bounce around. I never like it. Just never. I mean, I don't know.
Poker.
The
poker got
right.
picked.
Yeah, then I started playing. I was playing poker. Yeah, so basically, So I was
Full
thinking
circle. The poker got picked.
Right. But yeah, just that's. I never went, so I actually now the Sting's gone. I think I am the last holdout.
Oh,
yeah. So Sting,
is that a real?
Maybe.
Interesting.
He said he's the last holdout. He's not.
Let's get you on Mania.
Yeah, right. So,
How about you and I have a match?
I can
match at Mania next
I can
year?
wrestle Fandango tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Oh,
so, that's it, right?
It's built in.
I wouldn't want to put him over though.
Smart.
I'll go there, right? Yeah, right. I'll go. No, I'm not putting him over, right?
You're on Twitter.
At the Real Disco.
Facebook.
Glenn Gilberti. I don't accept fans though. So I just
fuck off then.
It's for my friends. Yeah. You can send me messages on there if you want to book me though.
Gotcha.
Message me on Facebook.
Perfect. And you're still.
Yeah, GLENN GILBERTTI.
Is there any other things you're on?
No, just those two.
Okay.
It's Instagram, Disco Master GG.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm
more of a social media lurker than poster. So I don't tweet a lot. I don't put a lot of pictures, but I troll my friends.
But you troll.
Yeah, I troll my friends. Yeah, right.
I like that you admit it too. That.
Bro, I was the first. I mean,
I'll get a message from you every now and then.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I actually, when I was writing columns for WrestleZone back in 2007, I was sort of like the first internet troll because I was like a journalist. I was supposed to be like a journalist. They're paying me $100 a week to write an article and go in the forums and argue. And I didn't know what to write about, so I was like, the fan base was like a lot of Ring of Honor fans, you know? So I said, let me just
See what they're talking about.
Well, no, let me just bury these guys because it'll be entertainment. Okay, so right, yeah, so I could get interest to like, you know, so I basically just started trolling the Ring of Honor fan base back then.
You once put out a thing like how dragons suck, didn't you?
I don't know. Here's the funniest part about that. Somebody like I'd read like the sheets and it said like Bryan Danielson was the world's greatest wrestler.
Yeah.
Wrestler said, I go, I'd never even seen him work before. Okay, so I was like, oh, that's an easy. I heard this guy was a thing. I don't think bury the guy. You know, Jessica probably never even seen him work before. But like this is back then. But the funniest thing about it is that I was working at TNA, I think, and the Machine Guns told me that I buried Jimmy Jacobs accidentally. I didn't know it was him. He had like had a match, and like he was doing the boots gimmick with the right, and I thought it was ridiculous, but I didn't know he was friends with those guys because, bro, at this time I wasn't watching a lot of wrestling. I wasn't like active. I was making money at WrestleZone and doing indies. I wouldn't even watch it on TV. I wouldn't watch it Raw or nothing. I'm just having to write these columns without even like really like. So I'm just going on the internet and looking at these things. But I heard Jimmy Jacobs got hot. Okay, so when he got hot at it, we thought it was funny. I said, "Oh, good, I'll just troll these guys even harder." You know,
you know what works. First of all, fuck off, man, because that's what half these fuckers do. Right. And I hope they all do it to you on your Twitter now.
And I don't remember. I get brutalized on Facebook and Twitter, man. I get back whenever I get.
Know how? Okay, as long as you know it's a give and take.
Yeah. But so that's what I did for like about a year. Just you know. Like it was funny because guys would do YouTube videos burying me back, like the Ring of Honor fans and stuff. It was just I was playing basically a character.
Yeah,
you know when I'm
a piece of shit.
So it's kind of like what a scumbag I was, right? So, but.
Well, all right. It's a fun little story. Thanks. You ruined my life as a 27-year-old. I wonder if you shit on me.
I don't think I've. No, I never.
Yeah, I don't remember you shit.
I don't think I ever did. I was just. I think it's just because when he said Bryan Danielson was the world's greatest wrestler.
Right.
I just that's
easy material.
Well, just that was like,
that's how the internet works.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy material.
Easy material, and everybody can cut a promo.
Yeah,
you know, right. So that is the way it works.
Oh, cool, man. Well, you're still taking bookings, doing conventions, and when not, go see you in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
No problem, bro. Anytime.
All right, Disco Inferno, he's doing some stuff for the MLW VIP packages over there. It's like MLW week over here. I had Sullivan on last week. Disco, he's doing stuff with them too. The Talking Shop boys, they put out a movie. Have you watched that Talking Shop movie? I think it's $1.99 to rent. Please go watch that. They filmed it in Japan, and it's a lot of fun. You have to pass the time when you're in Japan. Conan has been ducking me. I've tried to get Conan on the show. One day, it will I'm just not in Tijuana that often. You know, I'm there a lot, but just not often enough to finally get Conan on the show. All right, Disco, we'll be seeing you out in Vegas, buddy. Before we get out of here, let's get into some plugs and
upcoming events.
All right, the best way you can support ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /AOW Podcast and Colt Cabana. ColtWrestling@gmail.com is my very public email. Maybe you're a promoter and want to put me on your upcoming show or convention. CutMyPromo.com. Somebody else is going to cut my promo for my upcoming show. And ColtCabana.com is my website. You can see the P.O. box there. Send me some snail mail. Send me something fun. Thank you for all the fun gifts and surprises. Matt Kona, that was an interesting t-shirt that just sent me. Friday, May 22nd, Valparaiso, Indiana, Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling. Saturday, May 23rd and Saturday, June 6th, both in Rahway, New Jersey. ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. Sunday, May 24th, Kenosha, Wisconsin. SSWOnline.com. Saturday, May 30th, Marmo, Sweden. I'm going to become a Swede for the day. WrestlingPalisade.se. Sunday, June 7th, Port Reading, New Jersey. Back for ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. Friday, June 12th, Munich, Germany. WXW-Wrestling.com. Sunday, June 14th, London, England. RevolutionProWrestling.com at the beautiful York Hall in Bethnal Green. Friday, June 19th, Tokyo, Japan. Big in USA takes on KES for the Global Tag Team Championships. Noah.co.jp if you're in Tokyo. then use that Google Translate. July 25th and 26th, I'll be at the Gathering of the Juggalos in Legend Valley, Ohio. And August 7th through August 31st, Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Brendan Burns and I show every single night is at thestand.co.uk. Buy tickets. Also wrestling for insanewrestling.co.uk every Sunday. Also doing a live podcast every Sunday before that. Tickets are at insanewrestling.co.uk. That's the show. That's the show for this week. Big thanks to you at home for listening, for subscribing, for telling a friend. Thanks to Disco Inferno for coming on the show this week. Thanks to Cable Guy Jeff and Stu Stone. Thanks to Kid Russell and Matt Jenkins on the music. Dame Miller with some tech. How about those sponsors? HighSpots.com. Hundreds of full-length titles available to download. Plus, they got gear. They got a ring. They got knee pads. They got so much stuff over there if you're a wrestler or a wrestling fan. OneHourTees.com. They're the people that help run ProWrestlingTees.com. Support your favorite wrestler independently by supporting them directly. ProWrestlingTees.com. TweakedAudio.com/Colt earbuds I'm using. Over 30% for free shipping just because you listen to the show. 250 episodes down the drain. Just the other day that I started this thing. You should see this mic I got. It's nice. I got a pop filter too. It's just taking me so long to get all this stuff. I think in 10 years I'll finally be in a real studio. Because every day I'm like, this won't last much longer. And then here we are 5 years later, or 250 episodes later. Still doing it, still talking to myself in a room. Literally had to stop briefly because a bum was dragging his grocery cart and checking every single garbage bin outside. There's 6 of them, so I had to hear him lift it up, rummage through, lift it down, move over, lift it up, rummage through, move down, rinse, repeat, wash 6 times. So that was the break. Not that you heard it, just push pause. That was pretty easy. But I'm going to take a real break here for a week, because I'll be back next week, just like I have been for the past 250 episodes. All right, I'm out of here. This has been The Art of Wrestling. For Colt Cabana, I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.
Wait a minute. There's no way I'm letting 250 end without me being in it.
In 800 meters,
Damn it.
turn left onto South Ranger Boulevard.
I'm going to get a souvlaki in my GPS. Just whatever.